right, everybody, welcome back to the show. Part 2 of our weekend Cabral House Calls. As you know, we answer all things wellness, weight loss, weight gain, anti-aging, and high-performance health on these shows. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dive right into today's questions. Hopefully you've been a listener now for at least a couple of years. If not, that's okay, and welcome to the show. What we'd like to do on the weekend is just dive right into what the community has asked at stephencabral.com/askcabral. That's where these questions come in. That's where they're taken from. They're non-edited. I've not looked at them before. I just dive right in. I love answering your questions. Let's go. First one is from Anne. Anne says, I listen to your podcast every day and I've learned so many helpful tips. Thank you. Thank you, Anne, for tuning in every day. We appreciate you. Anne says, I've recently developed dry mouth and at night while I'm sleeping, I drink a lot of water during the day and have not started any new medication. What is the cause of dry mouth and what natural remedies would you suggest? Thank you. So this is important. When any time a new symptom has developed, we have to assume that this is the rain barrel effect taking effect, right? So it's like gradually over time, oh, I got dry mouth. Gradually over time, I started waking up at 3 a.m. Gradually over time, I started losing muscle. Like all of those things are possible, or something changed in the last few weeks that's now causing dry mouth. And as a client, we kind of walk through this process as like, hey, has anything changed recently? Not that I can think of. What about your nutrition? Any new foods you've added? And like we start to go through that. Have you gone out and consumed alcohol a little bit more than usual? No? Okay. And we just start to go down the line. Have you started to exercise more? Have you started to do sauna? Like, oh yeah, you know what? I just got a sauna about 3 weeks ago. And yeah, that's something new. Oh, okay. Are you drinking more water now that you've gotten the sauna? Yes, I am. Okay. But are you also adding in a little bit more electrolytes by just pinching a pinch of sea salt, some lime, squeeze of lime? No, I'm not. Oh, okay. Maybe we need to start getting a little bit more. So we start to kind of go through this methodology because it's like, it's nearly impossible because there's so many reasons I could give you for dry mouth, right? It is medications like you just said. So I'm glad you said you're not necessarily on any new medications. So what could the cause might be? We just start to go through what are the variables, what's changed, and we always want to make sure that it's nothing serious. So we run your blood work. And then also we run your big 5 labs whenever possible, right? So we want to look at, oh, is there an increase in cortisol? Is there a decrease in thyroid? Like all the different reasons, we just start to go through that. Is there an increase in omega-6s and inflammation affecting the salivary glands? So we're very deliberate and very scientific and precise in that process. So the labs we run are at stephencabral.com/big and then number 5/big 5. Okay. Everything is at stephencabral.com/shop. That takes you over to our practice, which is Equilife. So I would do that. You can run the blood work with your PCP, or you can run it on your own because there's so many companies right now that run your own blood work, and you're welcome to do that. What else would they suggest? And then you could try, again, I can't give you any medical advice, medical treatments, medical cures, medical diagnosis, but you might try mouth taping. And mouth taping will allow you to keep the mouth closed because during the winter, you have the heat on and that can dry out your mouth to a great degree. So it might be nothing serious. It might just be heat during the winter and your mouth's drying out. You know, could be neck change. There could be all sorts of different reasons, right? Sinus congestion, etc. Could be like mold, right? So there's so many different things it could be. Let's start with brass tacks, big 5, blood work, cross out the big things and start to work smaller. Mouth taping might be beneficial in the meantime. All right. Fred's up next. Hi, Dr. Rawl. My name is Fred. I've been listening to you for the last year. I truly believe you are in this to help. Happy to hear that, Fred. Again, it's amazing like how many people don't always believe that. And I get it because some people are just like, oh, they're doing this for a specific reason. But thank you, Fred. I appreciate that because that is the truth. And we've been doing these house calls now since 2016. So 8 years and answered, I think, over 5,000 questions. So thank you, Fred. I appreciate you. I recently purchased the vitamin and heavy metal detox kit tests for my wife and myself. I'm 63 years old and unfortunately had H. pylori and was on antibiotics for 2 weeks. And about 2 months ago, I'm not sure the impact it has seemed to have worked. My concern is that I have EGFR46. I have an enlarged liver. I'm a non-drinker and started to eat better. I went off my statin and I'm on blood pressure medication. I do not sleep well at all, hoping to afford to do the big 5 one day. I'm Canadian and our dollar is very bad. What can I do to save my kidneys naturally? Okay. Thank you, Fred, for writing in. I did a whole show on the kidneys, a whole show. I always ask you to go to stephencabral.com/podcasts and enter in your key term like kidneys. But you could also enter in CKD, which is chronic kidney disease. Again, I can't give you any medical diagnosis. You're in the earlier stage of having potential issues with the kidneys for your EGFR, but let's see if I can find it for you. If not, please always ask at cabralsupportgroup.com. So we pay a team of amazing health coaches to answer your questions there. So it's like, it's free. It's literally free for you. We pay for it. So, it's our way of paying it forward. I found my answers. It took me 10 years. My goal is to help people find them, and a whole lot sooner. And yes, the Big Five is the best way to do that. So let me see if I can find that really quick for you on CKD. If I can't, then what I'm going to have you do is just ask at cabralsupportgroup.com, or just search right at stephencabral.com/podcasts. All right, I apologize. I can't find it right off the top of my podcast search, but I know it was just over the last few months. So we'll have you right in there or search, and you'll absolutely be able to find it and go through all the different things of what it could be medication-wise, protein levels, etc. So yeah, I think that'll be really in-depth and really helpful for you. And I also have one on the liver, which is non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, and it goes through all the inflammatory-based processes as well. So these are 15 to 20-minute shows, so that'll give you about 40 minutes of information instead of just a couple-minute answer right now. So, but if you didn't find them for any reason, write back in, and I'll absolutely just say, hey, it wasn't there, and I'll answer it for sure. I know it is, but if it's not, I will absolutely answer it. All right, Kristen says, I've heard that ashwagandha supplements are not good for those with Hashimoto's. Is this accurate? I've also read and experienced so many benefits from it. All right. So I've been using ashwagandha myself since call it early 2000s, like maybe even earlier, could be the late 90s when I started working with different natural health practitioners. And so studied this quite in depth. I've shared studies on meta-analysis that it helps to decrease cortisol levels by around a third, which is pretty incredible. It's known as one of the top Ayurvedic-based herbs. It's called an adaptogen. So if your stress gets too high, it helps to bring you down. If your body's a little too low, it helps to bring you back up just a little bit. And so there are all sorts of rumors about it being bad for those with Hashimoto's. But I can tell you that those are largely unfounded. It is just what we call parroted on the internet. And I hate to be a little bit crass sometimes, but it's the truth. Social media is one of the best things ever to get the message out, and one of the worst things ever to perpetuate just untruths. Because when you look at the large plethora of research, it shows you that 90+%, probably 96+%, are all positive for ashwagandha with all thyroid-based issues. Let's go through it. So if you have a thyroid issue and it's low, that means your TSH is probably going to show above a 2.5. Oftentimes, this is due to elevated levels of cortisol and stress on the HPA axis, the hypothalamus pituitary adrenal axis, that's then affecting the HPT axis, which is the hypothalamus pituitary thyroid axis, not to mention it's one of the main causes for infertility as well, especially in women, because the HPA axis, adrenals, affects the HPG axis, gonads, which are the ovaries in women. So again, this is very scientific as what's called a pathophysiology. When you get elevated levels of stress can be from pain in the body, can be from inflammation, or mental emotional stress as well. Then it begins to trigger a cascade of elevated levels of norepinephrine, which is a mineral corticoid, and then a glucocorticoid, which is cortisol. We've heard of cortisol before, right? Once that starts to get too elevated chronically, it can begin to hinder thyroid-based conversion. All right, so ashwagandha helps with that. Not to mention, the number one cause, I get it. If you want to take Hashimoto's the rest of your life, that's probably not the best. If you want to take ashwagandha the rest of your life for thyroid, I agree. That's not the best methodology. You can take it for 4 to 6 months or so, even longer if you need to, while working on the underlying root cause of Hashimoto's, which is absolutely viral-based, infection-based, deficiency-based, or most likely it is fight or flight stress-based combined with increased intestinal permeability. And I teach all of this inside of stephencabral.com/courses, the one on thyroid. It's all there. It's step-by-step. It costs less than one consultation with a practitioner. So I'm not saying that you have to do this. And I have all this for free also at stephencabral.com/podcast. You can scroll through, you can look at the thyroid category, and it's over like 50 podcasts. So, but yeah, it's just not true. Like that's just like sometimes I give you a long-winded answer because I like to explain it, but I have talked about this in depth on a previous podcast and gone through the science. But it's just simply not true. There's very few instances that someone with this should not use ashwagandha. One is a nightshade sensitivity. Oh, I can't have things like certain peppers and goji berries, etc., because you have a nightshade issue. I totally get it, totally understand that. And so there's always a time and place to say that this isn't the right thing for all individuals, right? Or you, for some reason, have an adverse reaction to this, but it's just not that many individuals. It's fraction, like it's so small that to give that as a general is actually hurting people because it is so beneficial for one of the main reasons of autoimmune based issues. All right. So we'll keep that there. And let's see, lots of free follow-ups as well, or that course on thyroid at stephencabral.com/courses. I also have a gut course there. I have a female hormones rebalancing course there. And then I have a free detox course there as well. And then I have a weight loss one too. All right, Mandy's up next. Mandy says, hi, creatinine level question. Hi, I greatly appreciate all of your wonderful info that you and your team provide to those of us that want to live our best and healthiest life. Is there a causal relationship between menopause and an increase in creatinine? Recently, I had my labs done and my creatinine was 1.24, my BUN was 19, my GFR was 54. Any advice and recommendations to bring my levels down would be greatly appreciated. I'm an active 49-year-old. Thank you for your help. Mandy. Okay, you gave your name. I just want to make sure I was not giving away a name there. So, again, I can't provide you, I can't like give you, based on your blood labs, it's not legal for me to start giving you medical diagnosis or any of those things. But let's say those were my numbers. So when we look at those numbers, we don't actually see high creatinine or high BUN. We see them on the higher end. No doubt about it. Totally agree. And I would have the same concern. So I just want to state that. The GFR is elevated, right? It's not the high end, but it's elevated, right? We start to look at that. Totally agree. So now what are we talking about? Well, we're talking about kind of the same kidney issues that I think we talked about with our friend, was it Fred? Yeah, Fred, just a little bit earlier. No relation, I'm sure. But we're going over that. So we'd want to look at because since you're not a client, I don't have any information on you. I would say, do you have high blood pressure, right? So less of an issue with going through menopause. So I would not state that as, this is one of the things that happens during menopause. Your kidneys don't work as well. I would not say that that's the relationship that I would make a correlation to and then tie causation to that. What I would say is anytime that you have blood sugar issues, that you have high blood pressure issues, that you're on certain medications, that you're chronically dehydrated, which many athletes and active people are, or that you had too much muscle tissue breakdown, like you did a hard workout the day before you ran your blood work, that could be a reason. That's possible. Or too high a protein diet. It's a possible reason for some individuals. So those are all reasons why. So just wanted to let you know. And so what you would do is say, okay, what's going on? And the nice thing is that you're able to correct these. There's just no doubt about it. Again, I'm only talking about myself in these numbers, of course, but these are easily correctable. And you could absolutely do that for sure. Yes. Always start with the big five. That's what I would do. But, you can decide obviously what's best for you. All right. Looks like we've got one more question. Oh, it says Mandy as well, but a different Mandy. All right. It's a different Mandy because I can see that there's a different email there. So Mandy says, hi, do you recommend mattress vacuums? Specifically the Jigo, Jimmy, or Ranvu? Those are fun names, huh? Also, we just heard about the Apollo 2nd generation. Do you recommend it? All right. So it's funny that you write this because I'm just such an advocate of creating the healthiest bedroom possible. And the reason is that you spend a third of your day there, right? So it's no EMFs, the right sheets, the right mattress, get rid of the electronics. I'm a big, big advocate of that and really have for years because I was a complete insomniac until almost 30 years old, literally almost 30 years old. It was not good. It was really bad. So, here's what I would share. We're actually looking into mattress vacuums right now. Funny that you mentioned that. I had never heard of mattress vacuums, truthfully, like a specific one for your mattress, until maybe like, I don't know, a year or so ago. So we are actually looking into some of those names that you just mentioned. And although I haven't tested them myself and can't give them that seal of approval, I have read good things about them. So for those of you who don't know what a mattress vacuum is, basically you're sucking up the dust mites and anything else that might be there. It is not effective against bed bugs. Just have to state that. Hopefully you don't have bed bugs anyways. But they have UV lights. They can kill potentially viruses, but I can't give that as medical advice. So they can be really great at cleaning the mattress, especially from dust mites alone, because here's what happens. You have the mattress for like 5 years, 10 years, some people even longer. And so over time, it can really accumulate dust and all of those different things. So it's not a bad idea to have. It's really not. We're looking into them right now. On a future Friday review, I'll absolutely be recommending them. But some of the ones that you mentioned, specifically the first one, they get good ratings. I just haven't tested it myself. So almost no downside that I see. And just make sure they have a HEPA filter. The UV light is really nice to have. And that'll be great because you don't want to kick all this stuff up in the air. You want to trap it. So you just have to make sure there's a vacuum that really traps these nasty things that can be on that mattress. All right. Thank you, Mandy. Thank you, everybody, for writing in today. I appreciate all of your support, all your downloads, all your subscribes to the shows, the reviews. They mean a lot to me and my team. We really do appreciate it. Take care. I'll be back tomorrow on a brand new Cabral concept. Thanks so much for tuning into today's show. Before you go, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I want to make sure that you're getting our daily content, not missing out on anything functional medicine, wellness, weight gain, weight loss, anti-aging, living longer, stronger, and all of the most cutting-edge research. And if there's any topics you want to hear, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Take care.